Be me. Early 30s. Lifelong feminist. Raised right. Gender studies degree, minor in sociology. Grew up thinking men were the problem with everything. Patriarchy, this toxic masculinity that. Spent college organizing rallies, calling out microaggressions, dating soft boy who cried during sex. They always turned out to be manipulative or just boring AF. Start noticing a weird trend after graduation. Most men either avoid dating or are weirdly checked out. Used to think it was commitment issues, but it's not. They're just not interested anymore. WTF.jpg. Write it off as a me problem. Start dating more seriously, ready for a real man. Every guy is either emotionally unavailable or emotionally broken. Some are surprisingly based. One dude straight up tells me, "Why would I marry someone who sees me as a fixer-upper project?" Excuse me, sir. Internalized misogyny detected. Anyway, get involved in online spaces to raise awareness about male mental health. Have to preface every tweet with, "As a feminist, I care about men too." Finally meet a guy at work. Greater than 35, never married, no kids, intelligent, decent looking, owns a house, has hobbies. Unicorn detected. Starts subtle flirting. He's polite but distant. Coffee turns into lunch, then lunch turns into casual hangouts. He says he doesn't date anymore. Ugh. Ask him why. He sighs. It's just not worth it anymore. Full breaks. Ask him to elaborate. Been through it. Women don't want men. They want a therapist, a provider, and an emotional punching bag in one person. Ouch. Ask if he's been hurt before. Of course. Who hasn't? But that's not even it. Says he watched his dad get emotionally destroyed in marriage. Had to fight for custody. Lost his house. Lost his kids. Says all his friends who married are divorced or miserable. They're not even men anymore. Just ATMs with dead eyes. Bruh. Start researching out of curiosity. Reddit threads. YouTube channels. Forums full of men venting about relationships. And it's not all incel rage. Some of it is brutally honest. Men talking about being disposable. Being used for status or money. No one caring about their feelings unless they're useful. Man up culture is still alive and well, even among women. Start realizing how easy it is to talk about what men should be, but not what they are. Talk to other women. They either don't care or just say, well, they should be better. Zero empathy. Remember being like that. Feel gross. Remember a quote. The average man gains nothing from marriage that he can't get from a gym membership and a microwave. Laugh, then stop laughing. Start thinking maybe men choosing loneliness isn't about bitterness. Maybe it's peace. Freedom. Not having to walk on eggshells around someone who sees you as inherently flawed. Not having to be held emotionally hostage by someone who thinks tears equals manipulation. Not having to live with someone who might destroy your life if she stops being happy one day. Start wondering if women would tolerate that. Realize we wouldn't. Remember all the men are trash, merch, and TikToks. Wonder what kind of mental state you'd have to be in to hear that your entire gender is garbage 24/7. Look at my own post from 2016. Nausea.exe. Start talking to the work guy more. Not as a potential date, but just to listen. He opens up slowly, but you can tell he's been carrying this shit alone for years. Start smiling more. Makes jokes. Funny, chill, insightful. Realize he was never broken. Just tired of being expected to be something he's not. He thanks me for just listening. Says it's rare. WTF have we done? Feminism taught me to blame men for everything, but never taught me how to understand them. Never taught me how to value them. Maybe men didn't choose loneliness. Maybe they just stopped choosing pain. MFW. After that conversation, start paying more attention to how men behave around relationships. Notice subtle things women usually miss. How they hesitate before committing. How they joke about being single forever, but with a hint of relief. Hear stories about friends who married young and regretted it later. Divorce rates still sky high, but men seem less eager to jump in now. Start wondering if feminism ever talked about why men retreat. Mostly it focuses on men oppress women narrative, rarely on men's emotional survival. Realize that for all the talk about equality, men still expected to carry burdens silently, expected to sacrifice happiness for family. If they complain, labeled as weak or selfish. See how toxic that is? Start reading more male voices, not just angry ones. Some articulate pain, fear, and exhaustion. Others just want respect and understanding. Start questioning my own views on relationships. Maybe I was part of the problem, always demanding emotional labor, but never giving space for his emotions. Always expecting men to fix things without asking what they need. Feeling like a hypocrite. Decide to have honest talks with male friends. Some open up, some shut down. But all confirm it's easier to be alone than to risk getting crushed. Think about how society glorifies independent women, but mocks or ignores lonely men. This imbalance isn't helping anyone. Begin to realize that feminism needs to expand. Include men's struggles without judgment. Teach empathy, not blame. Think about what real equality looks like. It's not just women rising, but men feeling safe to be vulnerable. Maybe then, loneliness wouldn't be the safer choice. Maybe then, marriage wouldn't feel like a trap. MFW, I might finally understand why men choose loneliness over marriage. MFW, this whole time, I thought I was fighting for equality. But maybe I was just fighting to be heard, while forgetting to listen. After those revelations, start thinking about my own past relationships. How many times I pushed men away without realizing it. How I demanded emotional availability, but didn't provide the same. How I dismissed their fears as weakness or ego. Remember one ex who tried to open up. Got met with sarcasm in eye rolls. Feel like shit about it now. Decide to change how I approach dating. Focus on listening more, judging less. Try to create space where a man can be himself without fear. Start noticing differences immediately. Men who were once closed off begin to share more. Laugh more. Express doubts without shame. Noticing it's exhausting for men to always play the strong one. Start questioning my feminist circle. Realize a lot of us are so focused on fighting the system. We forget that system also traps men. We forget men are people with hopes, fears, and fragile egos. Begin to speak out about this to friends. Get pushback. But feminism is about women. Men have all the power. Tire of arguing. But keep pushing the conversation anyway. Because it matters. Because if men keep choosing loneliness, society loses something essential. Love, partnership, family, support. The whole narrative needs a rewrite, where men are not villains or victims, but humans deserving empathy. MFW feminism might be stronger if it included men's pain. MFW, I realize equality isn't about winning a war. It's about healing together. Months pass. Start noticing subtle changes in my own mindset. Less anger, more curiosity. Less blame, more empathy. Start volunteering at a local men's support group. Never thought I'd do that, but it feels right. Hear stories I never imagined. Men struggling with loneliness, depression, anxiety. Pressure to conform to manly ideals crushing them slowly. Some men feel like ghosts in their own lives. No one sees their pain. No one talks about it openly. Feel humbled. Realize how much work still needs to be done. Feminism gave me tools to fight injustice. But now I want to use those tools to build bridges. To create spaces where both men and women can be vulnerable. Start conversations with women friends about men's mental health. Some resist, some listen. Share what I learned. Slowly, conversations start shifting. Start hearing, I never thought of it that way more often. Realize change takes time. But it can happen. Start dating again. This time with a different mindset. No expectations, just understanding. Find a guy who's kind, open, and thoughtful. He's not perfect. Neither am I. But we listen to each other. Support each other. It feels different. It feels real. Realize maybe men don't choose loneliness out of bitterness. They choose it out of self-preservation. And maybe, just maybe, with empathy and respect, they might choose connection again. MFW. This whole journey changed me. Not just my views on men, but my views on love, equality, and humanity. Moving in together feels like a big step. But it's comfortable, not scary. We set rules about communication and space. No assumptions, just honesty. Start noticing how little things matter. Sharing chores without keeping score. Checking in emotionally without judgment. He tells me how relieved he feels not having to put on a man mask all the time. Admits he used to fake confidence around me. Because he thought that's what I wanted. Feel a pang of guilt. Realize how much pressure I unconsciously added. Promise myself to be more mindful. Start seeing how toxic expectations hurt both genders. Remember feminist rhetoric that demonized men for not stepping up. Now I understand why. They were scared to be vulnerable around us. Decide to speak out more about men's emotional labor. Write essays, give talks. Sometimes people push back hard, but that's okay. Change is uncomfortable. Feel proud when men thank me for creating space to talk. Relationship deepens. No fairy tale, but real and messy and honest. Realize love is less about finding a perfect person and more about growing together through imperfections. Feel grateful for the journey, for learning to listen, for finally understanding why some men choose loneliness, and how we can help them choose connection instead. MFW, this all started because I dare to listen instead of lecture. We keep growing together. Some days are easier, some harder. He opens up about his past relationships, how he felt drained and unappreciated, how his exes expected him to be perfect provider and emotional rock, how that pressure made him shut down. He admits he was afraid I might do the same. Tell him I'm learning every day how to be better, that I want us to be a team, not adversaries. We talk about how society trains men to hide pain, how expressing vulnerability often gets punished. He tells me about the fear of being seen as weak at work, how he's constantly performing toughness. Sometimes he wishes he could just be himself without masks. We explore how I used to dismiss men's feelings, how I believed toughness was strength. Realize how that limited me from seeing him fully. Start practicing real empathy, even when it's uncomfortable. He starts trusting me more, shares his insecurities, fears of failure, tells me about nights he lies awake, worrying if he's enough. Makes me want to be more patient and kind. We celebrate small victories, like when he tells a friend about his feelings without fear, or when I ask for support instead of bottling it up. Sometimes we fall back into old habits, like snapping during stress or withdrawing. But now we catch ourselves faster and work through it together. Talk about how traditional gender roles hurt both of us. He feels trapped by expectations to always provide and protect. I feel burdened by expectations to manage emotions and relationships. We dream about a future where those roles aren't so rigid, where men and women share vulnerability and responsibility equally. Start advocating for mental health openly. Tell our story to friends, family, strangers. Some people get defensive, some inspired. We realize change is a process, not an event. We commit to being part of that change every day. Learn that listening is more important than lecturing. He teaches me how to be less reactive, more present. I teach him how to express needs without fear. Our relationship becomes a safe space for growth. Start planning to help create community workshops on healthy masculinity. Want to help others who feel lost and lonely. Know firsthand how isolation eats away at the soul. Realize this is what real partnership looks like. Not just living together, but evolving together. We still have bad days, but now they don't define us. They're just part of the journey. Understand that healing is ongoing, and empathy is a muscle we build over time. Feel grateful for the chance to rewrite the story where men don't have to choose loneliness, and women don't have to fight alone. We are both human, flawed, and beautiful, and that's enough. One evening, after a long day, we sit on the couch, talking quietly. He admits he's scared sometimes. Scared that his fears and doubts make him less of a man. Scared that society will judge him for needing help. I tell him those fears don't make him weak. They make him human. He looks at me, eyes a little misty. Says it's the first time he's heard that without judgment. Some seem surprised I'm with someone who's so quiet. Others joke about how rare it is to find a man like him. We talk about the pressure to always have it together. He says he's exhausted from pretending. He's tired of being told, man up, when he just wants to cry. I share how I used to think vulnerability was dangerous, but now I see it as the bravest thing a person can do. He reaches for my hand. We sit in silence for a while, just holding on. In that moment, it feels like we're breaking a lifetime of silence. He says he wishes more men could feel this safe. I agree, but remind him it starts with one person at a time. We talk about the future, how we want to build a relationship based on trust and respect, not on outdated roles or expectations. He admits he's still scared of commitment sometimes, but he trusts me enough to be honest. I tell him I'm scared too. scared of repeating old patterns, but willing to try because it feels different with him. We laugh at how messy and imperfect love can be, but also how beautiful it is when you're both willing to grow. That night, I realized that connection isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, and choosing to listen, even when you don't fully understand. We fall asleep holding hands, both feeling a little less lonely than before. Next few weeks, things feel good but realistic. We face small conflicts about everyday stuff, like money, chores, and how to spend weekends. Sometimes old habits sneak in. He gets quiet when stressed. I get anxious and nag. Recognize the pattern immediately now. Pause. Talk it out instead of letting it fester. Friends start asking if we're official. We laugh, but it highlights how uncommon emotional openness is. His family is traditional, skeptical about our relationship. They ask when marriage will happen. He admits he feels pressure, but doesn't want to rush. We agree to set boundaries and timelines that work for us, not them. Start seeing how societal expectations still weigh heavily. Feel frustrated that both men and women get boxed in. At work, he faces subtle comments about settling down. His coworkers assume he's lonely or irresponsible. He tells me how exhausting it is to explain his choices. I realize freedom to choose your path isn't equal for everyone. Start sharing these frustrations with close friends. Some women get defensive about men's complaints. Others begin to understand the emotional toll of masculinity. He opens up about how hard it is to balance being sensitive and manly. Admire his courage to be vulnerable despite it all. Decide to take a weekend trip together to escape noise and expectations. Spend time hiking, talking without distractions. He admits he's never felt this relaxed in a relationship before. I tell him I'm grateful we're rewriting our own rules. Talk about how love can be radical when it breaks stereotypes. Start planning future projects together. Maybe a podcast or blog about this journey. Want to help others see that men choosing loneliness is a symptom, not the problem. Our relationship isn't perfect, but it feels like hope. Hope that with empathy and patience, we can heal old wounds. And women won't have to fight alone. Just two flawed humans learning how to be better together.